Did you know Wyoming is the least populated state in America? Yep, fewer people live here than in Washington, D.C. But why? I mean, it's got Yellowstone, epic mountain views, and skies big enough to swallow your dreams. So what's chasing everyone away? Is it the bone-shattering cold, the eerie silence, or something deeper, like a town with no target for 200 miles? Ever wonder what it's really like living in a place where the antelope outnumber people? Stick around as we dive into 10 wild, weird, and brutally honest reasons why Wyoming is America's most stunningly empty state, and why nobody wants to live there. Number 1. Harsh climate. Let's kick things off with Wyoming's number 1 deal breaker for most folks. The cold isn't just cold, it's the kind of freeze your eyelashes off, wind howling like a pack of wolves kind of cold. In January, average lows in Casper can drop to 14 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's before wind chill comes screaming across the plains at 50 miles per hour. It's so cold that locals don't even say, "bundle up." They say, "double layer your soul." And it's not just winter. Wyoming gets snow in June. That's right. Imagine sipping your iced coffee and boom, snowflake on your nose. Even hardy Midwesterners get humbled here. This unforgiving weather doesn't just chase off tourists, it makes daily life a brutal endurance test. Pipes freeze, roads vanish under whiteouts, and forget gardening unless you're into growing icicles. For every scenic mountain sunrise, there's a driveway that needs 2 hours of shoveling. With over 40 inches of annual snow in many towns, and sub-zero stretches that last weeks, it's no surprise people would rather cozy up somewhere warmer. Sure, the Tetons are gorgeous, but when you need an ice scraper in May, it's a hard sell. Wyoming's beauty might be wild and raw, but so is its winter. And not everyone's built for Arctic cowboy living. Number 2. Limited water resources. Picture this. You turn on your tap in the heart of Wyoming and hope it doesn't sigh back at you. That's how scarce water is in this rugged state. With much of Wyoming receiving less than 10 inches of rain per year, it ranks among the driest states in the U.S., almost desert-level dry. Compare that to Florida's 54 inches, and Wyoming starts looking like the Sahara with mountains. Streams run skinny, lakes hide behind fences, and whole communities rely on snowmelt to survive. Ranchers fight for every drop like it's gold. And in some towns, water restrictions are just part of life, like traffic lights in New York. Farming? Only if you're growing tumbleweeds. This water scarcity makes building large cities or lush suburbs a fantasy. You want a green lawn? In Wyoming, that's basically performance art. And this isn't just inconvenient, it's existential. When your population hovers around 578,000 and your land spans nearly 98,000 square miles, having too little water means huge swaths of land are simply unlivable. It's not just dry, it's dry on a scale that rewrites how people live, farm, and survive. And for many Americans, that's one drought too many. Number 3. Challenging terrain. Wyoming's landscapes are so stunning they belong on postcards, desktop wallpapers, and daydreams. Towering mountain ranges like the Tetons, endless high plains, deep canyons, it's nature at full throttle. But try building a life here and the terrain hits back like a cranky grizzly. Over half the state sits at elevations above 6,000 feet, and the jagged mountains aren't just pretty, they're geological barriers that laugh in the face of highways and infrastructure. Want to build a neighborhood? Good luck carving a foundation out of granite. Even Wyoming's towns are often far apart with no Starbucks or gas stations for miles. And those beautiful views? They come with landslides, rockfalls, and snow that doesn't melt until May. Rural areas rely on long, winding roads that get buried in winter storms and don't see a plow for days. For settlers, this unforgiving geography was why many passed through Wyoming rather than stayed. Even today, developers see dollar signs fade as costs skyrocket due to uneven land, harsh weather, and limited utility access. It's the Wild West, literally. And while the scenery is epic, the logistics are a headache. It's no wonder so many dreamers opt for Colorado's foothills instead. Wyoming's land might be legendary, but it doesn't make it easy. Number 4. Economic dependence on resource extraction. In Wyoming, the economy rides shotgun with fossil fuels, and that ride is bumpy. The state ranks number 1 in coal production, pumps out oil like a mini Texas, and taps into natural gas deposits buried deep in the earth. In fact, over 60% of Wyoming's revenue comes from these extraction industries. But here's the catch. When fossil fuel prices crash, so does Wyoming's economy. It's happened a lot. During the 2015 coal bust, towns like Gillette saw hundreds of jobs vanish overnight, and empty homes became the new normal. That dependence on a single sector creates a whiplash economy where good times feel like jackpots and downturns feel like black holes. There's little diversification, only a few major cities, limited tech, and not much tourism infrastructure outside national parks. Young professionals look around and see opportunity somewhere else. In many counties, there's no strong safety net when companies leave. That means unstable incomes, budget cuts to schools, and abandoned downtowns. It's not just risky, it's exhausting. If your livelihood depends on whether oil is at $70 or $90 a barrel, you're living in economic roulette. Wyoming has the resources, sure, but until it rewrites its playbook, the state remains locked in a cycle of boom and bust. Number 5. Limited urban centers. If you're hunting for city lights, cultural events, and late-night sushi joints, Wyoming might leave you feeling like you landed in a ghost town with Wi-Fi. The entire state has only one city with more than 60,000 people, Cheyenne, the capital. For comparison, Los Angeles has neighborhoods with more residents than all of Wyoming. Most towns here are small enough to know everyone by name, which can be charming or claustrophobic depending on your vibe. There's no bustling metro, no tech hubs, no expansive transit system. College graduates often leave because the job market doesn't match their degrees. And nightlife? Let's just say bars might close when the bartender gets tired. While states like Colorado or Utah offer a blend of nature and urban energy, Wyoming leans hard into rural. For people craving concerts, diversity, and social variety, the pickings are slim. Even shopping options are limited. Locals often drive hours to find stores like Target or Costco. This lack of urban development makes it hard to attract businesses, talent, or the younger generation. Wyoming might be heaven for solitude lovers and stargazers, but for city-minded folks, it's like trying to stream Netflix on a flip phone, just not built for it. Number 6. High energy costs. Living in Wyoming means nature always comes with a utility bill, and a big one. With winters that feel like you've stepped inside a freezer and wine strong enough to slap your coffee out of your hand, heating is non-negotiable. And heating costs. The average monthly energy bill in Wyoming is around $117, one of the highest in the country. Higher than even sunny, air-conditioned Florida. Why? It's not just the weather. Sparse population means fewer energy providers and less competitive pricing. Add in the long distances to deliver power to rural homes, and you've got a perfect storm of expense. People heat with gas, wood, electric, anything that keeps the frostbite at bay. And in many remote areas, residents rely on propane tanks they have to fill themselves. That's not just pricey, it's a full-time job in winter. Combine that with the economic roller coaster and limited high-paying jobs, and it starts to feel like Wyoming charges you extra for the privilege of freezing. For families on tight budgets, those bills can mean choosing between heat and groceries. Gorgeous, snow-capped landscapes might sell postcards, but the reality? You're writing checks just to stay warm. And for many Americans, that's a chilly deal-breaker. Number 7. Historical transit state. Wyoming has always been part of the American story, but often as scenery rather than a destination. Back in the 1800s, pioneers crossing the country on trails like the Oregon, Mormon, and California trails trudged right through the state. But here's the thing. They didn't stay. They kept moving. Even then, Wyoming was seen as a stretch of tough, rugged terrain between where people were and where they wanted to be. That pass-through mindset stuck. While states like California boomed with gold rushes, coastlines, and jobs, Wyoming remained largely rural, with tiny settlements that never grew into big cities. And the tradition of passing through continues today. Road trippers cruise Interstate 80 or Interstate 25 on the way to Yellowstone or Denver, maybe stopping for gas or a photo, but not a job or a mortgage. Even now, the state's low population density, about 6 people per square mile, echoes its historic role as a vast, beautiful layover. Wyoming's not forgotten, it's just skipped. And when generations treat a place like a pit stop instead of a destination, infrastructure, business, and population growth tend to lag behind. It's poetic in a way. Wyoming's stunning landscapes are timeless, but to most, they're just a chapter, not the whole story. Number 8. Massive federal land ownership. Imagine trying to buy land, start a business, or build a dream home, only to find that nearly 48% of Wyoming is owned by the federal government. Yup, almost half the state is off limits to private development. It's like walking into a giant real estate store where every other shelf says, "Look, but don't touch." National parks, BLM land, national forests, while they're great for recreation and conservation, they seriously limit expansion. You might fall in love with a mountain view, but good luck building a driveway through protected moose habitat. This federal ownership means fewer property taxes going to local governments, making it harder for small towns to fund schools, hospitals, or infrastructure. It also limits the job market. Unless you work in tourism, mining, or government, there's not a lot of economic wiggle room. And even for developers or ranchers, land use restrictions, environmental reviews, and federal red tape can stall projects for years. Wyoming may be massive, ranking 10th in land area, but a big chunk of it is out of reach. So while there's room to roam, there's not always room to grow. It's paradise for hikers and hunters, but for folks chasing opportunity, it's a bureaucratic maze disguised as open space. Number 9. Limited transportation infrastructure. Let's talk about roads, because in Wyoming, you'll be on them, a lot. With almost 98,000 square miles of land and just under 600,000 residents, it's no surprise that Wyoming's transportation network is sparse. Want to run errands? Get ready for a 100-mile round trip. Many rural towns have no public transit at all. If your car breaks down on a snowy back road, good luck. Help might be an hour away if cell service even works. Airports? Few and far between. Amtrak? Doesn't even bother. And flying out of state often means connecting flights and long waits. The highway system is functional, but bare bones and snowstorms frequently shut down major routes like Interstate 80 for days at a time. This isolation doesn't just affect residents, it deters companies from setting up shop. Transporting goods becomes expensive, shipping is slower, and recruiting talent becomes a nightmare. It's a catch-22. Without population growth, there's little incentive to expand infrastructure. But without infrastructure, attracting people is nearly impossible. It's the Wild West, but with GPS and no Uber. For those raised in big cities where public transport is a lifeline, Wyoming's long, empty roads feel less like freedom and more like a logistical labyrinth wrapped in breathtaking silence. Number 10. Social and cultural isolation. There's quiet, and then there's Wyoming quiet. For some, that's bliss. For others, it's suffocating. Wyoming has one of the lowest population densities in the US, around 6 people per square mile. That's fewer neighbors than cattle in some areas. Social life here moves at a slower, more solitary pace. Fewer events, fewer restaurants, fewer chances to meet new people. And while the communities are often close-knit, they can feel closed off to outsiders. The state is overwhelmingly rural, conservative, and traditional, with less cultural diversity than urban centers elsewhere in the country. For LGBTQ+ individuals, minorities, or those used to multicultural living, the lack of inclusivity can feel stark. Even younger people raised in Wyoming tend to move away. The state has one of the highest youth outmigration rates in the US. Add in limited higher education opportunities and slow internet in many towns, and Wyoming becomes a tough place to stay socially connected in a digital age. The state has heart, sure, but it's also got miles of space between every beat. For those craving community, diversity, and dynamic interaction, the silence of Wyoming isn't peaceful, it's deafening. And that's why so many pass through without ever planting roots.